Hi there. We've got an exam question, a 6-mark exam question on GM crops. It's from Biology Paper 2. This is from Combined Science, higher tier. It's obviously relevant for triple science students as well, so everybody needs to know this. Scientists have collected and stored seeds from species in the same genus as potatoes. So the previous question was about potatoes. We don't need to know that though. In the future, these seeds may be used for genetic modification of potato plants. Genetically modified potato plants could help supply food to the human population as the climate changes. Explain why genetic modification of crop plants may be important for the human population to survive climate change. So we need to talk about what the effects of climate change will be in terms of crop production. How the GM crops could solve some of those problems and help supply food. So GM crops, in case you're not sure, when a gene from a different species is inserted into the genome of a crop plant, let's say wheat, for example, and this extra gene from a different species gives the crop an extra benefit or an extra trait that can help it in terms of food supply. So for example, some GM crops are given a gene which kills insects that feed on the crop. So it's got an insecticide gene that comes from a species of bacteria that can poison insects. Some crops are modified with genes that protect them from herbicides so they don't get killed when the farmer sprays their field with herbicide to kill the weeds, and the crops then survive. Some crops are modified with genes to improve the nutritional value, for example, to produce extra vitamins. So there's a whole range of different modifications, and we'll mention some of them as we go through. But let's talk about the effects of climate change first. So obviously climate change is going to change the weather. It's going to be unpredictable weather, extreme weather, things like flooding or droughts or extreme temperatures, and all of those things are going to have a massive impact on crops. So let's get some of those ideas down. Climate change can disrupt weather patterns, and that's going to make it tricky for farmers to know when to plant crops. Climate change can disrupt weather patterns, making timings of farming more difficult. So climate change can also cause flooding or drought or extreme temperatures. These extreme conditions can actually kill the crops completely, so that there won't be a harvest. And this will reduce the food supply. And that's the food supply for the whole world. So let's put the global food supply. There's also the extra effect of the land that crops can be grown on actually disappearing when sea levels rise, and that's going to cause flooding in coastal areas or low-lying areas, and lots of those areas are used in farming, so that's going to just reduce the availability of farming land. So let's now look at how GM crops may be able to help. So why are they important? So let's look at crops that allow GM crops that make it easier for crops to be able to be grown in these different conditions. So you can actually get drought resistant crops. So you can get plants that are modified to be able to tolerate higher levels of drought. Now, climate change can also cause populations of pests to change their distribution. Where you didn't have pests before, you could see pests entering that area. Remember I said that you can get insecticidal GM crops that actually kill pests. So they're going to be beneficial in certain situations. So if new pests enter an area due to climate change, GM crops that are insecticidal will help. And more generally speaking, GM crops can just allow an increased growth rate or to be stored for longer. So general benefits like that. So these are just some of the benefits. We don't have space to go into loads of detail. We need a few pages for that. But we're going to sum it up now to kind of conclude why this helps human population, and that is to feed the increasing human population, because not only are these problems happening, but there are more people, and there are going to be more people on the planet. So it's going to address that problem. It's going to help with the lack of farming space. And also, if the human population needs more land for housing, it's going to help with that problem as well. So GM crops will help feed the increasing human population and help relieve the pressure caused by less farmland being available and more people needing housing. So we haven't gone into every single example, but we've given enough detail, we've given some examples, we've linked solutions to the problems as well. So that would be 6 marks here. I hope that helps.